Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Scott Garber back in the saddle of the Profluent Sports Podcast, where we are highlighting founders, investors, executives across the sports business landscape. Today, I'm excited to welcome our next guest, founder of the Whatnot channel, Joe Hollywood, shaping the way that live commerce, community, and sports collectibles are evolving in our world. It's not my story to tell. Joe Hollywood, welcome to the show. How are you doing today, my friend?
Scott, thanks for having me on. I'm sorry I sound a little raspy. I had a big show for the past 24 hours. So I'm going to try to get through it the best that I can with the little volume that I have left. But it's great to be here on the show and appreciate you having me on.
Man, we're thrilled to have you, and it's nice that you're a little raspy. It means that you're really in the pocket doing it. A lot of people talk about it, few actually do it. And I mean, Joe, with what you've built, hosting the number one show on Whatnot, masking hundreds of thousands of viewers, building facilities, and then really completing it all by having a philanthropic arm. Excited to learn sort of, your origin story. How did you get into card breaking? And then we're going to unpack the whole business, throughout this podcast. But Joe, give us a little insight to who you are and your journey to what you built today.
Thanks, Scott. Well, I got into card breaking on total accident. And I think maybe to a lot of people ask me this, like, how did you become Joe Hollywood? I became Joe Hollywood because I was casted as an extra in a movie when I was a kid. And I'm a little embarrassed to tell you how long ago that was, but it was a long, long time ago. I ended up getting casted as an extra in a movie called Radio Days, which probably no one has ever seen before. But it was a Woody Allen film. And I got abused because I had a very limited role. So I would get abused and say, oh yeah, Joe Hollywood, like I was a big actor, because I wasn't, because I was this tiny little fish in one movie. And then kind of carried that over and got into cards when I was younger, grew up on welfare. Had my grandfather buy me my first pack of cards when I was 8 years old and fell in love. And just collected a long time on and off for a very long time throughout my childhood and then in my teenage and early 20s, and kind of stopped. And oh my God, what happened from there, Scott, it really is. It's unbelievable for where we are now.
Wow, man. I mean, it's so incredible, and I mean, I think, Joe, it's so important to understand where we come from, right? And that really shapes why we do what we do, right? And I mean, you guys have been prolific in the expansion across of what you built. Joe, I think before we go any further, let's just talk and understand the collectible market a little bit. I think a lot of people hear card breaking, it's become more regular, but like for all the listeners that might not be so relevant to what's going on in this, collector community, break us down what card breaking is and sort of how you use that mechanism to build this community.
Well, it's still fairly new. So card breaking in itself is being able to use your social community, being able to open up boxes of cards, no matter, maybe they're new boxes of cards from baseball, basketball, football, your favorite sport, and then being able to not having to pay for the entire box, being able to either pick a team, being able to buy a pack, and having the ability so that way, if you're not someone that can afford an entire box or an entire case, you still have the ability to do well by participating with other people. And it becomes fun because you're able to converse with other people, you're rooting other people on, and it becomes more of a social. I'll say it to you in this way. It almost is like a party atmosphere. So you're able to connect with other people that like the hobby, other collectors, and you'll be able to build and make friendships, and it becomes very, very cool. And that's something that I enjoy seeing in my rooms, is the real connectivity between others. Like, hey, I went to this college, so do I. Or hey, I've been following this team for 20 years. Oh my God, I'm a big Yankees fan too. When you see that kind of connection, it really opens up so many different channels and even business now.
Wow. And, I think so much when we think about community, Joe, we think about the teams or the leagues, right? I'm a Yankees fan because I'm in New York, right? This to me is just such a unique expression of building community and fandom in a really unique way. And, we've watched, a resurgence in cards. I'm curious, Joe, do you do anything else in the collectible world within this community, or is it specifically just cards that you focus on?
So we do a lot as far as memorabilia is concerned as well. So right now, Fanatics has a program called Under Wraps, where they'll take in, let's say, their mystery jerseys. And for example, we had baseball jerseys, and one of the biggest hits in those baseball jerseys was Paul Skeens' game worn jersey.
Wow.
opened it up, it was like, and like that's how we knew like immediately like this has got to be the game used jersey, and we pulled it out and we didn't realize like how much it was valued at, but we showed it to Fanatics, and then the next day we got tagged in an Instagram post, and I'm like, all right, so I go on my Instagram, Real Joe Hollywood, and I go on the Instagram and I get tagged in this post. It's like $50,000 plus jersey gets pulled. I was like, oh my God. And that I think really goes to show you the value of these artifacts. I mean, it's starting to call them artifacts because the values of these things are really starting to explode. And that's exciting. As somebody who has loved the collectibles market, who has loved memorabilia, who loves cards, and I love this hobby so much because this is something that got me through my childhood. I grew up in a broken home. So this was something that I really focused on. And now seeing people like Mr. Wonderful wear a $13 million card around his neck, that's pretty interesting to me. I think it goes to show you the progression of where we are right now with the hobby, where it's gone from something that's been very niche back in the past to something that's becoming now more mainstream, that's become cool, that's become, I'm not saying an edgy investment, but things where people are saying, hey, we can actually put these cards away, these Michael Jordans, these Kobe Bryants, put them in a safe. And we know over time, taking a look at where the collectibles market is now, people are looking at these things kind of like art. Like they take a look at where art was, and now they take a look at, how much was the Picasso 30 years ago to where it is now. That's what people are viewing these cards as. So it's very, very unique.
And I think the scarcity of what that we've been able to create in this market, right? We've watched this commercial boom within sports, and the collectible market's always been there, right? But now we're able to go ahead and get really creative with the way that we're combining game used artifacts, for your words, right, mixed with cards, and now sort of memorializing these moments. And I'm curious, Joe, like I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in a world that's going more digital. Do you think that this is a counter to all of the AI, and it's like I want to be able to feel and hold and actually memorialize that, and not in a digital way where we tried to see NFTs come through and sort of catalyze this? I'm curious, like that relationship between the physical product and the digital environment that we're finding ourselves consuming in quite a bit.
I think that there's a world where it both exists. I think that there's a world where you're going to have people like myself that really enjoy having the physical product, that enjoy owning something that's a piece of history. For me, I've always loved history, and
Yeah.
I've always been a big history buff. And when I in my office, you'll see several different things of things that really mean a lot to me. Like right behind me, I have a piece of the game used floor that Julius Irving played on, that's signed by him. I have Kobe autos. Obviously, we have some Jordan pieces. But for me, that's important. And that's what I love about what's happening in collectibles, is because whether that's something that really gravitates to you in your PC, which is your personal collection, or maybe you're someone who's a little bit of, hey, I don't have room in my house for some of this stuff. I would rather own something that's digitally, or something that's going to be part of, let's say, the blockchain. Like that is something else that's becoming very prominent, that I think is for other investors, where they're saying, hey, we just want to have this digitally. We want to own it. And we saw that with NFTs, right? And so that's a whole different market. But I think
Yep.
there is a market for that. Like I believe that both of these segments, they don't always have to collide for it to be successful. I think they can both stay in their own lane and still rise independently of each other, because that's how broad the collectibles market is getting. And one of the things that we forget, Scott, and I know I'm guilty of it, like really guilty of it, is that collectibles is not domestic, it's international. And
Mm.
there's so many different international collectors that we tend to forget about. For example, basketball is an international sport. The United States, is the reason they had the Dream Team come out is because we got beat 4 years prior, right, in the Olympics, and so we had to come out and say, "Hey, listen, we're still the best at basketball. Let's get our best players together and go win the gold medal." Right? That was back in 1992. Think about how long ago that was. That was 34 years ago. So
Yeah.
take a look at where we are now and take a look at how big and how broad all these sports have become. Like baseball is huge in Japan. Right? We tend to forget about that often, but we tend to think about baseball being a sport that's played here domestically. Basketball is huge in Australia. I mean, it's huge in Australia. It's huge in France, huge in Europe, right? That's
Yep.
something that we tend to forget about. Take a look at what's happening in the NFL. The NFL is played in London, right? You're seeing games played in Mexico City. You're seeing games played in Canada. Like it's starting to really grow. So what we're seeing as well is it's not just with these sports. You're seeing an international effect, especially now. What do we have coming up this year? The World Cup. And so think about the global audience that the World Cup is going to open up, right? When it comes to soccer. I personally feel that with all of this new energy that's coming into collecting, we see it domestically, but it really is a global presence that is coming in here and saying, hey, these are things that we want as well. And you're starting to see the growth of these sports cards and these collectibles not only come from our domestic markets, but international interest as well. And that's why I think there's tremendous upside still.
The whole ecosystem is going global, right? And like, we talk about this as the last frontier. Joe, I'm curious, as you started transitioning from a hobby into a business, right? And we think about this global market of participants, not all social media channels or platforms are available around the world. And so I'm curious, what was the on ramp of taking this into a business? And then what ultimately led you to Whatnot as the platform for you to be able to go ahead and, sort of build this robust, world leading channel?
Well, okay. So I wish it was like a sexier story, but it's not. Really not. It's like I think a lot of people might feel empathetic to my story. So I was a collector for my childhood and early 20s. That started to become popular back in 96, 97. I started buying cards on AOL. You might not be old enough to remember that, but I used to get on
I had an AIM account. Don't you worry, Joe. I remember.
no, AIM was, I'm impressed to a level here, but AIM was the messenger, right? But before that was the old school AOL where they used to have the old school chat rooms.
Yeah. Okay.
It was it was so bad. So
Okay.
and you just have to like try to dial in and not get a connection and like, oh my God, it's a busy time. We can't get on the internet. I know that sounds like a foreign language to people. But that's exactly what used to happen. And so starting from there, taking all these cards that I collected, and now I'm in a new home. And my wife says, hey, our stuff came in from storage. So did your collection. You need to have a garage sale. And I'm like, oh my God. And like my entire basement is just filled with sports cards. And I didn't realize how much I collected. I was like, oh my God. So what little did she know is I was actually recently adding to that collection because me and my oldest son started buying on Whatnot. And so we said, well, I don't want to have a garage sale. Let's start selling on Whatnot. And we started selling my collection on there. Scott, I got cooked. Like I got totally cooked. Like I was selling $10,000 Jordan cards for like a few bucks. Like I got totally massacred in the first few days. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no audience. Right? And we started next to my hot water heater selling these cards. And it took a long time. And I guess that Mamba mentality, right? I see Kobe Bryant in the background, and so that really brings it up. Really, someone who believes in not giving up, and I'm a believer in myself, and faith is really big to me, and family is really big to me. But I have my son doing this with me, and I can't see him. I can't let him see me like give up on this, right? Because that's everything that I tell him not to do. I tell him not to give up, just to be very persistent and to strive and be the best version of yourself. And so I continue to build on this, and little by little, we gained a following
Mm.
and realized it was going to be a business. Like this was just a hobby until we had 50, 100 people in my room. And then it became 500, and then it became 1,000. And then it became 4,000 concurrent viewers. And then total views were over 100,000 viewers per show. And then when you start to
Wow.
get to these numbers and then you start to get corporate sponsorships, it's just like, okay, this is a business. Like this is something that's very, very, that we can build and employ people. And now we're proud to say, we're employing almost 40 people right now as part of
Wow.
it. And this is something that started literally next to a hot water heater and then progressed to a ping pong table. And I can't even tell you how embarrassing it was when you have people coming over and you forget to clean off your ping pong table and their kids want to play with your kids. And you're like, hold on, I got to dust off the Dodgers because like cards are right next to the net. I got to take those off, and oh, by the way, the Cavaliers are hanging off. Let me take that off, and then that's how it was. And so,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's the most homegrown business that you could ever possibly imagine, and it started from there and just continuously, just more robustly built up and built up, and it only built up because we built a community with it. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people forget about is, you know, it's one thing to get from one place to another to build it from, hey, I'm doing it for fun, to, hey, this is actually a business. But it has to do with who is supporting you. And we were able to build a community of very like minded people that say, hey, we want to have a really fun experience. We want to do things that nobody else is doing, and we want to have a great time doing it. And that's what we really, really strive to do. And then everything else good, Scott, came from that.
Yeah.
Like, we were able to, like, we might not like, but do you know how good it felt being able to go to Boston, Massachusetts and raise $100,000 for the Boston Children's Hospital and to help
Wow.
out that organization? Like going to Washington, D.C. and raising over $50,000 for homeless veterans. Like, those are the things that we've been able to do. Like, go to the North Texas Food Bank and raise over $70,000 for the North Texas Food Bank. Like, those are the kinds of things that really resonate with me, because I look at that and I think about where I was, and man, it's a great feeling. And being able to show that to my kids and to other people, it inspires them. And it's not because I'm so great; it's because we built up this great community, and that's the reason we're able to do it.
And I mean, I think we could end the podcast here, and this is every nugget that you need to know as you're building. I mean, taking passion, organically growing it through faith and family and building real community, in a world, Joe, where there's a lot of vanity metrics and we seemingly feel more connected than ever, but we're more disconnected than ever. This world is about not just knowing who follows you, right? But it's participating and belonging to something bigger than yourself, and having this mutual binding agent that brings us together digitally in real life, and then starting to take all of that and like make real world impact. And I think sometimes we forget to close the loop there, right? Like, and I imagine it could be really easy to get sucked into the vortex of how cool what you're doing is. And, like, we're going to talk about the marathon that you run, and like, I mean, and I think there's a real lesson into how we build business, and why we build business will be the outcome of what our business puts into this universe. And it's truly inspiring, man. I'm excited to continue to unpack and learn. But Joe, I'd be remiss without just highlighting the true entrepreneurial journey of what you've been able to do, and leaning into that hard work and those core values. I think that every founder, entrepreneur, or intrapreneur that's working inside a company can learn from this. And I really appreciate you sharing. Joe, as you continue to build the business, I'm curious, I'm going to take this in a few different directions. Let's start here. You do everything digitally right now, right? Like, a lot of these breaks start to happen. How do you start to bridge that community in person? Have you been able to go ahead and take some of these digital engagements and bring them IRL? If so, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so there's a few things with that. That's always been our real passion here, is to get the community more involved in a face to face manner, right? And so it's great that we do this digitally. But for example, and we have a couple of examples. I don't want to be too long winded with it, but my vision has always been to be able to get people's favorite players and their PCs, their personal collections, and help people get in front of them and give them an experience where they believe that the life that we live is really based upon experiences and not really about objects. And what I mean by that is, how cool would it be to, the person that you grew up watching playing basketball, now having the ability to go meet them face to face and have a conversation with them. And so we've been able to start that digitally, but then we're bringing it personally. And so what I mean by that is, we did it, like, here's an example. I did a show with Byron Scott, who now is a friend of mine. And we did a show with the Showtime Lakers. So now, in the matter of, I meet Byron Scott, have no idea whether he's going to like me or not. I have no idea if I'm going to like him or not. Like, with you meet different athletes in this. And first of all, I never imagined even meeting athletes. Like, never even imagined meeting them, right? I mean, starting off where we did. And now I'm at the National, and we're doing interviews with Bo Jackson and Dennis Rodman, which wasn't really an interview. He didn't talk. So it was like, I mean, bro, there's so much crazy stuff that I could tell you. But Byron turned out to be one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. and another person. You know who else is really cool? Al
Who?
Harrington. Al Harrington, one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. He was literally just at my studio, and just one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. So, do the show, and there's a reason I'm telling you this with Byron Scott. I meet Byron. We planned. We were introduced to a mutual friend. We did like an hour of a show together. We hit off our friendship, and boom, we decided to do a show with the Showtime Lakers. And now I find myself in Byron's house with Michael Cooper, who's a Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
right? A.T. Green, the Iron Man, a guy playing the NBA for like 20 years. And now we're doing a show together live in front of 4,000 people on Whatnot. And they're triple signing basketballs. We're doing NBA championship statues. It's unbelievable. And people are now able to get those personalized to whoever they want and have them inscribe them how they want. Never before have people been able to do that. I mean, you could go to a show, maybe meet one of them, and then hopefully you meet somebody else at another show, and then somebody else. But what are the chances you're actually going to get those objects inscribed, right? And so now you're bringing that personal experience to people, and it's very cool. And now they're learning who these people are because they're not sitting down at a booth at the National, right? When the National is really cool, but they're not sitting behind a table. Like you're having this one-on-one interaction, and then we're co-hosting those people in. And then people are now sending me messages like, "Hey, can you read this to them?" And now their personal messages are getting read to them, and it just set off one of the biggest, most unbelievable experiences that people can imagine. And recently, this happened with Al. Like we went to Al's place in Texas, and he invited Jermaine O'Neal over. And
Mm-hmm.
before I knew it, we were talking about the Malice at the Palace, right, with Jermaine, and then we're talking about how Al's experience with the New York Knicks and how he was with the Pacers going against Kobe, right? And so it just brings up a lot of different conversations that people really would love to get into, but they never get a chance to. And that becomes some of the best social media. So I can tell you, none of this happens without laying the groundwork of saying to yourself, hey, I'm going to put the hard work in. I don't expect anything to happen from this. The only thing that I expect to happen is that my hard work down along the way, something good is going to happen. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the expectation is. I don't know where this is going to lead me, but I got to believe in myself that I'm going to work harder than everybody else to make something happen. Like something's going to spark this. And it does. It all
Mm.
has it's like when you're doing all these good things, like when you decide that you're going to put yourself out there and do something that's going to be positive, it is really remarkable how many people decide to jump on board your team because they want to help you do that. And then you start building these relationships, and that's how it snowballs. So nobody just wakes up like you talked about the vanity of social media, right? And people see, and people always want to connect with those superstars. They're not as hard to connect with as you think they are. Everybody has a like-minded purpose that they're all thinking about, right? And you're going to connect people on that, and that's how you're going to end up connecting with the people that you want to connect with. It's really cool how that
It's
happens.
really cool. And at the end of the day, Joe, we're all humans, right? We all just happen to be good at something different, and the path is perfect, right? And I'm a believer of like, where it's deposits and withdrawals, right? And so, if you make enough deposits as a good person, then you can start to make withdrawals and like create these experiences. I love that you brought it there. And one thing what's really cool, right, is one, it's how do you preserve legacy, right? And educate future generations about a Byron Scott, right? And what the Showtime Lakers were able to do. Like, I think this is a really neat medium where you can start to go ahead and bring generations together, memorialize it. It provides a platform for these superstars to be able to continue to live on and earn in the age of name, image, and likeness, which they didn't always get a chance to do, which I think is really fascinating. And then, like you said, like they're just humans. And so they become a part of the community. And I think that like when you use this catalyst as memorabilia, it allows storytelling, which to me is the differentiator amongst humans that makes us tribal based and continue to pass things on. I mean, we're just hitting on all the right mechanics. Joe, I would be remiss without asking this question, though, right? We talk a lot about history, right? But now we're living in this really unique moment in time where now we're commercializing sports younger and younger. What does that look like? Do you see more of an allure for, a Byron Scott or anybody from the Showtime Lakers or a Cooper Cup in high school who now wants to go ahead and sort of like this is the next guy and we want to get him early. Where do you see your audience taking you as we now live in this the age of name, image, and likeness?
So unbelievable. It's funny you mentioned Cooper Cup. I mean, now he's a Super Bowl champion. with two different teams, right? So Cooper Cup won the Super Bowl with the Rams, and then he became a Super Bowl champion with Seattle. And it just seems like wherever that guy goes, he's a champion, right? But like for me, I think that the nostalgia leads that excitement for the next generations. And so I always feel like that nostalgia gets passed down. For example, with my son, right, or with my children, with my three kids, they see how excited I get anytime I acquire, let's say, a Kobe piece or a Jordan piece or something, or a Shaquille piece, or even a Knicks piece. I'm a big Knicks fan, and I do love the Lakers. So if I get something that it has to do with one of those pieces, my son thinks, "Wow, that's really cool, Dad." And then we end up talking about that. And then what ends up happening is he'll watch what's going on now in the NBA, and be like, "Dad, I just watched, Con Knuckle just set the 3-point record for rookies, right?" And like that's really cool. Or it'll be like, "Hey, Cooper Flag had 30 points for the Mavericks." Like, "Dad, I think he's the real deal." And I can't tell you how many times I come home at night and it's a school night and I hear the TV on and I'll look and it's my son and he's watching basketball. And I know where that stemmed from. It stemmed from me being so passionate about what I was doing, me loving basketball, and pass on to him. And that is going to continue to pass on. So for me, I guess the short answer is I think the future of this, the hobby, the entrepreneurial business part of this has to do with the younger generation and how we go ahead and we introduce them and how we get them involved with this, right? This will only grow for as fast as we grow it within them. So for me, a big part of this is making sure we get more and more people involved. So if you join like one of my shows, we do a lot of giveaways. Like we give away a lot of stuff. We normally give away anywhere between $20,000 to $100,000 per show. That's normally what we give away. Like between myself and the community, like that's normally what we give away in a show, and you never know how much it's going to be. So like the show that we did last night, I'm going to probably say we probably gave away north of $50,000 worth of items, maybe $60,000 worth of items last night.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there have been shows we've given away north of six figures, and that is really cool because now what's happening is people are receiving them. Some of them aren't able to afford pieces like this. They pass it down to the younger generation. And guess what? Now you're making a memory. And now they're going to remember and be like, "Wow, I got this really cool autographed helmet, or I got this really cool jersey, or I got this great basketball card out of a pack of cards. And now I have Larry Bird's first ever, solo card, or I have a triple rookie, or whatever the case might be." Now you're making a lasting impression that's going to say, hey, when they get a little older, when they can afford their own cards, that's going to build back the hobby. Because if we just keep it with our generation, it's going to stop.
Falls off.
But if we continuously passing it down, we give kids and young adults motivation to buy into this and say, hey, this is why it's cool, and this is why you should. Or we show them a little bit of the entrepreneurial side of this, of what they can do. Then yes, then you're going to have a bigger result.
Wow. This is great. Look, I want to be mindful of time, Joe. A couple more questions. One's probably a little bit more in depth, and then we'll turn the corner on some vanity stuff as we bring this home. But like, as the businesses continue to build, break down, if you don't mind, like the mechanics of the business that you've actually built. Is it through monetizing audience? Is it through the actual memorabilia itself? As much as you can disclose, would just love to understand how this flywheel effect that you built actually works in practice.
So it's multifaceted, and I don't want to convolute it and make it too complicated. I'm going to try to make it like very, very simple. What we've been able to build is different items and different products that are very unique. So what we have decided as a company is we want to go after what we want to supply to our audience is very, most elusive chases, the biggest cards. So for example, on every time that we're live, you're going to have the opportunity of hitting a rare Jordan autograph or a Kobe autograph or a LeBron autograph. We're going to have the ability to go vintage and go back 40 or 50 years and be able to go after cards that very few people ever see ever in their lifetimes, right? We have the ability to do that. When it comes to memorabilia, we want to go after those game-used jerseys and helmets. We want to go after those Tom Brady autographs. I mean, my show 3 weeks ago or a month ago, we pulled out 10 Tom Brady autographs, literally in one show. So those are the things that we really, like, what we aspire to do. We want to bring that unique high-end experience to those people. And we want to integrate another kind of audience. We want to integrate that, hey, you don't have to be able to spend thousands of dollars to be able to experience and to enjoy our show. And that's why we do the giveaways. That's why we do flash sales. So as far as like how we've been able to build it, my show goes for a long time. So we're able to introduce a lot of different things during the show in different segments. I think the best advice I can give to somebody who's just starting out is, number one, find out what you're passionate about. Like if you're
Mm.
passionate about sports cards or you're passionate about whatever it is, memorabilia, start with that and then see where your audience brings you. See what their thirst is. And don't be afraid to fail. Like don't be afraid to try new things. I think so many people get afraid of, oh my God, if I do this and I fail. Okay. If you try something and you fail, guess what? That's great. Try it again. Pick yourself back up and try it again. You can give me somebody, and I say this all the time, I would rather hire someone that has failed 99 times and got up 100 than somebody that's never failed before. Because somebody that's never failed before, I don't know if they're going to get up again. But someone that failed and keeps on getting back up, that's the kind of person I want working with me. Because I know that person's going to get up time and time again. And we try to take that philosophy and we try to implement it during our shows. We're going to take chances. We're going to fall on our face a lot. There's a lot of times we lose money because we're trying new things out, and we're okay with that because our main goal is to provide an experience. That is our main goal. We want to provide an experience. We want to get away. Like we want you, when you're coming to our show, we want you to get away from the problems of the present day. We want you to get into a mindset of, hey, you're going to be in a great place that's going to have tremendous experience. You have positive vibes, and you're going to have fun collecting or getting into collecting and doing a hobby that's going to last you a lifetime. Because that's what this will do. It will last you a lifetime. And you can use it for however you want. If you have kids, you want to pass it down to your kids, great. Grandkids, great. Maybe you have no kids. Maybe you want to pass it on. You want to be philanthropic and you want to pass it on to a charity. There's a lot of people that can use these kind of items and auction them off, and they'll be able to raise a lot of money for them. So there's a lot of different ways on how you can do it. But that is the experience. Is that you want to come into my room and you want to say, hey, I'm going to have a great time tonight because I know Joe's going to make it fun. He's going to make it exciting. And we've built multiple other channels where, let's say, we now just built an entertainment channel called Joe Hollywood Studios and whatnot. We have a second channel called Joe Hollywood Show, where you have my crew and they'll be running boxes and different kinds of solo products that you'll be able to partake in. And so even if I'm not on my main channel, you'll still be able to get that experience.
Wow. No, I appreciate the insight. I think it's always interesting to see the outward expression, and then you get to learn the mechanics of like what does separate you as the space is getting more crowded and more people are getting, aware of the opportunity. And I think that authenticity that you move with and listening to your customers, I think there's a huge lesson in that, Joe. Real quick, as we turn the corner, I'm curious, we talk a lot about basketball and baseball and football. The global sporting landscape is full of new sports. So we see F1 have its rise. We see a lot of sports that maybe, 50 years ago, they weren't at top of mind, at least here in America. I'm curious what's on the horizon. Where do you see activity in the memorabilia market beyond sort of the big four that we've talked about this whole show?
So there is a lot of sports that are going to be very, very collectible. I think F1 is a great example of that. I know that I mentioned it. And again, we always think about baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. Soccer is an international sport. I mean, we got
Yep.
and Messi autographs are a tremendous amount of money. Okay. I mean, they are incredibly expensive. I mean, his cards, there's actually a card. I don't know if you know this. 2014 Prism came up with a World Cup box. And there's a one of one Messi that's still alive. The estimated value on that is over $1 million.
Really?
Yeah, and it's never shown up yet. The other cool thing about that box, and I shouldn't even say this right now because I don't have any, so now the price is going to go up. But the prices are going to jump up now. But the other cool thing about this 2014 Prism box is that this World Cup box is that Kobe Bryant signs in the product. So Kobe's autographs are actually in a soccer product, which
Wow.
really never happened before. But Panini had the contract with Kobe Bryant, and so they thought it'd be really cool to include his autos into a soccer product, and so they put his autographs in there. Yeah. So in 2014 Panini Prism Hobby, Kobe signs in that product. So besides all of the Messi, autographs and the 101 that are alive in that product, yes, Kobe autographs are alive in that too.
So does that mean someone's just sitting on an absolute gem that has not gone into public yet?
Yes, 100%. And there's so many products like that are out there that nobody even considers. I'll give you another example. This one is talked about a little bit more. 2009, Topps' final year of licensed basketball until this year. And they lost their license to Panini. In 2009, Steph Curry had his rookie year. And what Topps did is they didn't make a Chrome product, but they made Chrome cards and they put them inside of the regular Topps product. So Topps came out with this 2009 Topps product. They only made a couple of products that year for basketball, licensed basketball, but it was their final year. The one of one Steph Curry Superfractor has never been found. Now, it could be in somebody's attic. Somebody might have thrown it out, or it still might be in one of the boxes. Nobody knows. But the
Wow.
card estimated value of it is between $5 to $10 million right now.
Holy shit.
Never found. Yeah.
And Joe, you know what's crazy? If we go back to earlier in the conversation, there could be somebody's grandpa or dad who collected this, who's passed away, and at a garage sale, you stumble on this box and you have no clue what it is if you're not in the space, and it could sell for a couple dollars. And I think that to me is the allure of this space. There's so many unknowns, there's so many possibilities, but it's all validated by what the community will pay for it, right? And so I just think that it continues to drive engagement, which is the hardest thing to do in communities because you just never know what you're going to break. And we talked about this before the show, but I would be remiss without holding it up because your boy did his first breaks with Fanatics and came up on some really cool little Penny Hardaway card. So got a couple decent ones that we broke in there, but I encourage everybody, if you haven't participated in breaking a pack, in participating in one of these live rooms, you don't have to put on a Knicks jersey to just go find your community with your team. There's the power of sport is bringing people together all around the world, digitally and in real life. Joe, last question for you. You've done a ton of breaks, man. You've done a ton of cool memorabilia. What's the one thing that sticks out to you that you can't believe you put your hands on?
One thing that I can't believe that I put my hands on, it's tough because we put our hands on a lot of stuff. One thing that I still can't believe I put my hands on is I was opening a box of 2003 EX, which is one of the rarest boxes for LeBron James rookie years. And they made an EX, they made an insert called Essential Credentials. What a lot of people don't know is there were two types of essential credentials now and essential credentials future. I don't want to get too much into the minutia of it,
Yeah.
but here's what I pulled out, and I didn't even recognize it. I'm going through the cards, and one of the cards I pull out is Kobe Bryant numbered out of 9. And it was stuck in a pack for over 22 years. And I was going by it and my hands were shaking because it was one of the rarest Kobe's that were never found out of that product. And we had a chance to pull that actually live in front of 2,000 people on my show. And we were auctioning the packs off pack by pack. So I think the packs were going for like $400 or $300. And somebody got possibly a 6-figure card for literally $400 live, and that card will continuously grow in value because it's one of the rarest Kobe's, and that happened in a live experience for me.
Wow.
And then I'll give you one more. 2 weeks ago, we decided to open up 1980 basketball. That's Larry Bird and Magic Johnson's rookie year. It's an iconic card. It's a strip of 3 of them on there. Larry Bird, Julius Erving's in the middle, and then Magic Johnson. And lo and behold, one of my buyers bought the box. And lo and behold, we opened up one of the packs. And one of the most perfectly centered, perfect Larry Bird, Magic Johnson rookies came out of that box. And my buyer actually went to a card show and met with one of the top auction houses. And they said, this might be one of the nicest raw cards we've ever seen. We think it has a chance to be a Gem Mint 10. And so they're in the process of getting that graded right now. If it does grade a 10, it's worth close to $1 million.
Wow. Wow, man. This is,
Joe Hollywood on whatnot.
Come on. And I was just going to say, plug yourself, for everyone that's listening that hasn't tuned in, Joe, plug yourself one more time. Where can they find you on socials?
Thank you. So if you really want to be a part of the show, Friday night is always the big show. I never miss Friday night unless I'm with my family. I usually do my family trips during the week so I can spend the weekends with all of you. So Friday nights, 8:18 p.m., Joe Hollywood on Whatnot. We actually recently did a show with Mr. Beast. I was actually not just on with Logan Paul on there, but Joe Hollywood on Whatnot. You can find us and my shows, and you have no excuse not turning in because my shows last for over 30 hours. So our show lasts from Friday at 8:18 and it ends on Sunday at some point Sunday morning. There's never a set time, but whenever it is on Sunday morning. It could be 6 a.m., it could be 2 a.m., whenever it is, that's when we end the show. So you just never know how long the show is going to last for. But I go throughout the whole show. So I will go. I don't take any breaks. I go through 3 different shifts of people next to me. I know it's very surreal, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have such a great user experience. Is people turn in an hour 14, or people watch the show, they go to bed, and they wake up, and I'm still on. They're like, dude, I just did a whole day worth of work. Like, you're still on. Like, what's going on? And they get really engaged into the show, and it's pretty wild, and people really love that. And now, because we've had so much demand, we now do a second show. We do another show on Tuesday nights that lasts into Wednesday nights. And it's just, it's pretty awesome. So you can find us on there. Instagram is The Real Joe Hollywood. And hey, this has been really, I appreciate the time that you've had me on here today. This was a lot of fun. I hope we get a chance to do it again. There's a lot of things I would love to, I know it was a little long-winded, but there's a lot of things I'd love to share with you about the hobby itself, because I think that this is really a dedicated space that has so much potential moving forward. I really do. And I think Topps is going to do it right. They've taken the baton from Panini, right? And they, Panini now no longer has the licensing with the NBA, and they don't have it with the NFL anymore. Now Topps is going to be making those cards, and so far so good. We've seen a lot of good reactions coming out of Topps Finest recently. Topps Chrome has been pretty good. We've even had a lot of good experiences with Midnight. So it's really exciting to see where they're going to take this product. I'm excited to say.
Well, listen, I'm no Mr. Beast and I'm no Logan Paul, but man, if I ever got the chance to sit co-pilot in one of these seats just to experience what it's like, we'll have to bring the Profluence community into your world and experience what it's all about. And, listen, Joe, let's
open invite. Listen to me. I'm just telling you right now. I think it would be really cool to have you come down here to the studio and spend the night in the show. You have to drink a lot of espresso. Okay, I'm Italian. So drink a lot of espresso. And why don't you come down here and co-host with me on either a Tuesday night, or you come down here on a Friday night and just hang out and experience what it's all about. Because I think I can tell you about it, but you really need to experience it. And I think it would be great for your platform and great for your community to have you share that experience, because it's one thing for me to share it as being the person, but you being here as a guest, I think that's a wholly different experience. And so
come on.
I'm giving you right now the open invitation. Let's plan it out on the calendars. Let's have you come down here, and then maybe we can do another show and we can have a retrospective and you can tell me what you really thought.
Come on. You guys heard it here first. You'll be seeing me co-host and guest appear on Joe Hollywood's card breaking bonanza on Whatnot. Joe, listen, man, with all sincerity, from the Profluence team and the entire community, thank you for what you're doing for the sporting ecosystem. It's so fun to sit here and learn. And, we're believers that we get the chance to shape what the future of this looks like. And you truly embody that soup to nuts. So thank you so much. I can't wait to show up on your platform and continue to build together, brother.
I'm excited. Listen, I'm excited to have your community on the platform as well. And hey, let's get it done. I'm a man of action. So let's make it happen. And I'm excited for it. And I'm really appreciative of your time today. It was great meeting your community. I'm looking forward to it again real soon.
First of many, Joe. We'll talk soon, brother.
Take care.